A Fox News alert, former President Trump saying this morning he will be arrested on Tuesday.
Yeah, Trump shared on Truth Social his potential arrest comes over accusations that a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels prosecutors have called hush money. A spokesperson for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office declined to comment.
Joining us now with his legal take is Fox News contributor and constitutional law expert Jonathan Turley. Jonathan, good morning. We've had other guests on already this morning. We're trying to understand, I guess the breaking point here is state versus federal offense and jurisdiction. Can you help us understand this?
Well, one would say that Bragg is outside of his lane, but in this case, he's on a completely different highway. I mean, this is an effort by a state official to effectively prosecute a federal crime, a crime that the Department of Justice decided not to prosecute. And the reason for that decision may have involved the difficulty of these types of claims, because you have the payment of money to effectively end a scandal. Now, that occurred right before an election, obviously, 2016. But you have to show that that money was paid with the election solely in mind. There's obviously a lot of different reasons why a married man would want to hush up a scandal with a former stripper. Yeah. And that's the problem that they had in the John Edwards case. That was a much stronger case. The Department of Justice went all in, and they lost ultimately, because these are very difficult cases to make out. Now you take that, and now you have the Manhattan DA taking a case to court that the Department of Justice declined to do so. And that raises some obvious questions.
Right. Obviously, Alvin Bragg either has Trump derangement syndrome or he wants to raise his profile. How does this end for Donald Trump, in your view?
Well, you know, this is going to now get pretty wicked on all sides. I mean, you've got a person who's running for the White House. This could easily extend to the election. But there are a number of flaws in this case. It is based on Section 175 dealing with falsified business records. They need to actually federalize the case in the sense of hooking into that alleged federal violation. The reason is I think Bragg is out of time. The statute of limitations is about 2 years on this offense. That has already run. You can extend it to 5 years if you connect it as a felony to another crime. Even at 5 years, I'm not sure the time has not run out. So there's going to be some very intense challenges here. Now, obviously, this is one of the worst jury pools that Trump could find himself in. But we have to keep in mind that we have a legal system here which is designed to protect the rights of the accused. And even if he's convicted, there are going to be significant appellate challenges and reviews. I think we have to be careful not to just assume in the most inflammatory way that the rule of law is dead. This is not the first DA who has yielded to public pressure to bring a criminal charge.
Jonathan, I think oftentimes as attorneys, we can get sucked into the idea that this is about wins and losses and begin to try to figure out who would win a case, when often what's happening is a lawsuit serves its own purpose. Either it moves you towards a settlement, or in this case, it has its own political implications as well. Just in the pursuit of understanding those political implications, on Tuesday there will probably be photos of President Donald Trump in handcuffs, and that has its own political fallout. You also brought up the timeline. Even if Trump were to win, how long would that take? Because that then impacts his run for president.
Yeah, unless this case is dismissed because of one of these flaws, it is going to muck up the works. And it is unfortunate that we're already starting with this environment. This has the feeling of a thrill kill for many on the left. And they need to think seriously about what this implicates for the legal system. You know, this is a claim that not only the Justice Department didn't pursue, But Bragg's predecessor and his office didn't pursue
Yeah.
it to court. But also Bragg himself threw a flag on the play. The only reason I think we're seeing this case is that 2 of his prosecutors resigned. In my view, they acted really inappropriately in the case of one of them who wrote a book about someone who wasn't even charged, let alone convicted. And that pressure, I think, finally found its mark with Bragg. And they bring this rather curious charge based on the falsification of state records and connecting it to an uncharged federal crime.
Okay, an uncharged federal crime here. That's exactly what we're talking about. An uncharged federal crime. Okay, this morning on Trump's own webpage, True Social, he said a leading candidate, Republican candidate and former president of the United States will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back. Okay, that was his statement. What happened here? This is why I'm on the air tonight. Plus, we've had a major earthquake down in Ecuador. I want to talk about that. That's been blown out of sight as well. But anyway, why is this so important? Number one, President Trump is a former president of the United States, a very popular former president of the United States. 2, he has and always will have Secret Service protection. Okay, think about that one for a minute. He has and always will have Secret Service protection. So, what happens here? Okay, let's talk about this gentleman right here. This is Mr. Bragg. Mr. Bragg, he is a Democrat. He is the state attorney general. Well, actually, he's not either a state attorney general. He is a city. He's a city/county of New York attorney general. And now, what is he doing? He's trying to bring charges against a former president of the United States. Charges that had a limited 2-year, I'm going to say it again, a limited 2-year statutorial limit. So he's trying to resurrect a case that is so far away from statute limitations, it's not even funny. Again, as you heard in the videotape from Fox News, no one, including his predecessor, was willing to bring charges. Okay? At most, that was a misdemeanor. Number 2, it happened before he even started running for president. Okay? Guess what? There is no harm, no foul at that point in time. Again, as the videotape said, he was putting out hush money because he was a married man. Okay? I don't care whether he was elected or not at this point in time. The statute of limitations has passed. This gentleman right here that you're looking at is a dirtbag. It's another Democrat communist in our nation that's trying to stir up problems for the former president of the United States. One more Democrat communist trying to cause problems for the former president and for the United States. All of this, let's look at the big picture. We have had three bank failures this week, and a 4th just happened. A 4th bank failure just happened, and there will probably be more. We talked about bank failures last night. Folks, this is not going to stop. Our nation is involved in trouble and turmoil, turning upside down. If I didn't make myself clear last night, I hope to make myself perfectly clear tonight. Folks, I was not here before the Great Depression. There were fewer people on this planet, fewer people here in the United States before, during, and after the Great Depression. Bank failures, ladies and gentlemen, bank failures. No money available to anybody. People losing their homes on the street, people dying, people losing their family members, children dying. This one is all motivated by Democrat communist greed. Every one of the bank failures can be pointed out to be termed as a failure because of Democrat communist greed. Okay? Who started Silicon Valley Bank? Why did it happen? I gave some answers last night. These internet tech giants and Hollywood started the tech banks. Then all of a sudden, some of these very wealthy people decided they were going to take their money out. All of it. Okay? As I explained last night, there's only so much money that is available at a bank for withdrawal. And as soon as the regulators at the federal government saw what was happening, they put a stop to it. Not just a stop at Silicon Valley Bank, but First Republic, Signature Bank, and now another bank today. 4 banks. And yet earlier this week, I believe it was on Wednesday, JB said, oh, we're going to provide money. Nobody's going to be out any money. Okay? What is that? It's called a bailout. JB said, oh, no taxpayers are going to have to be hurt on this. No taxpayers are going to have to be paying money to bail these people out. Really? As I pointed out last night, we are all paying taxes, regardless of what JB says. We are all paying taxes. JB prints money. Money creates inflation. We have to pay taxes on the food, the gas, and everything else that we either own or buy. And we have to pay taxes in April. Really? Tell me again, JB, that we aren't going to be labored by what he is doing? Well, guess what? That is exactly what is going to happen. Inflation is going to continue to drive prices through the roof. Many of us can't even pay for a tank of gas anymore. Heaven forbid, we try to buy 10 items at the grocery store. 10 items at the grocery store. It's $100. How many of us can go to the store right now and spend $100? Do we have that? Probably not. It's because people like this that all of this is happening. Greedy, dirty politicians. And yes, this gentleman is a politician. He ran for Attorney General, and he is a sitting Attorney General. He and all the rest of the dirty, slimy, greedy Democrat communists are responsible for what we're going through. Now, right before I get rid of him on this show, before I take his picture off, there's something else that you need to know. The story was that information was leaked, that he would be, President T would be taken out in handcuffs and arrested on Tuesday. How could that possibly happen? Well, guess what? This dirty slime bag, Bragg, contacted the Secret Service. Yes, Bragg contacted the Secret Service because he fully intended on doing something on Tuesday. And he knew that President T is protected by the Secret Service. And he would literally have to get permission from the Secret Service to do what he had to do. Now, what does all this entail? If in fact it does happen, has this slime bag put together a grand jury to have Mr. T indicted? Has he already impaneled a grand jury to have Mr. T indicted? We don't know. Maybe he has. If indeed that has happened, he has had to get the Secret Service's permission to bring Mr. T into a county jail in New York and have him fingerprinted. It is highly unlikely that Mr. T would go any further into that. He will never go to jail. He will never go to jail. Everybody is hoping to see Mr. T in handcuffs on Tuesday morning. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Mr. T has already said that he would personally submit himself to New York. He's not going to be put in handcuffs. That is entirely unreal and irresponsible. He's not anybody's person that they should be afraid of. But this dirtbag, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mr. Pencilneck Schiff, and all the others, they're the ones that ought to be put in handcuffs. They are the ones that should be arrested. Okay? I am sure Mr. T has had many things that he's done wrong. Each and every one of us has. But people like this slime bag, he can't put together this case. Nobody before him has even done it. The federal attorney general right now has not been able to do it. The Department of Justice has not put together a case, and it has to be a federal case. How is this slime bag from the state of New York going to put together a federal case on a state level? It cannot be done legally. Now, I heard from a politician earlier today. I heard from a former politician who just happens to be a friend of mine. And I heard Alan Dershowitz, who is a professor at law. Both the politician and Alan Dershowitz said there's no way in hell that this can even happen. And even if it did, even on the slimmest chance in hell that it could happen, what are the chances? What are the chances that he could be indicted and charged with that crime? There's going to be appeals. That could last a dozen years by itself. The case could go to trial, and even the preparatory part of it could last 1.5 to 2 years. That's not going to happen. And also, you got to say or think of this. Mr. T, regardless of how anybody thinks about him, he's a former president, number one. Number two, he's running for election to be the president again. And there's a damn good possibility that that will happen, regardless of what this slime ball is trying to do. Now, Mary Shea Makis is saying in the chat, Soros paid for the New York City District Attorney. You're absolutely right. Soros paid. We can prove it. We have the proof. Every time something even similar to this happens, George Soros's name comes up. There's a reason. Because that slime ball communist from another country that keeps coming back here to the United States, that slimeball communist George Soros needs to be arrested. And heaven forbid, if I ever see that slimeball, I will personally slap some nickel-plated bracelets on his wrist and tell him that he is under arrest, and I will make sure that he is taken to jail and held. I will make sure that he stays there. I can put a mental health hold. Any police officer can put a 72-hour hold on anyone, almost for any reason. And Soros is one of those people. Okay? I am thoroughly fed up with people like this slimeball here. I'm totally done. Heaven forbid I ever met him. He would also have a pair of nickel-plated bracelets on his wrists for wrongdoing. There are crimes that he's committed now that he could be arrested for. And yes, he needs to go down. He needs to be arrested. Wrongdoing, criminal wrongdoing. Now, I want to talk about something else here. Okay? I want to go over to the USGS map. I hate this map. I hate anything to do with these people at USGS. All of you know that. But, just for simplicity, I'm here. Now, this earthquake that you're seeing here is just off the west coast of Ecuador. Just off the west coast of Ecuador. This came out as a 7.2 major earthquake. It was quickly downgraded to a 6.9, a 6.8, and down to a 6.7. Then they brought it back up to a 6.8. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This agency and the rest of them that have this as a 6.8, or even some of them that have it as a 6.7, they are wrong. Let me show you why I say that. I'm going to show you plenty of evidence why they are wrong. Okay? This pains me a great deal because this agency cannot be trusted. I'm telling you again, this agency cannot be trusted. Never, ever can this agency be trusted. Okay? I'm showing you now a heliplot from the Dominican Republic. Quite a distance from Ecuador. This is in the Caribbean. Okay? It's just east of Puerto Rico. Look where these lines are going. Look how many times the earth rocked. How many times the stylus went off the paper here. Okay? I'll show you right now. We have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. 12 times the stylus went off the paper. Okay? There's no way that this was a 6.7 or a 6.8. Originally, right after it happened, in one of my messenger groups, I said this is at least a 7.0, 7.2, and I'm going to stay with that. This may have been as much as a 7.4 major earthquake. A 7.4 major earthquake. Let me show you another helioplot here. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of exactly what happened here. Let's go over to the Honduras. I want to show you several helioplots so you understand where I'm coming from. Okay? Why I'm saying what I'm saying. Let me blow this up a little bit. Again, let's count the number of earthquakes that actually happened. Each line here that's represented on the helioplot is a primary wave, an earthquake. Okay? I'm only counting the large, long ones. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Again, we have 11 separate primary waves, 11 separate earthquakes here. Some of them are back to back to back. The first one and several of the other ones last more than a few seconds. Okay, we can see that here. Okay, now you can see what happened when this earthquake first hit. There was very little warning, if any. Okay, very little warning, if any. There was almost no foreshock at all. You see the first wave here, the first P wave here. Then you see several smaller quakes, probably 4.0, 4.5 moderate earthquakes. Then it dissipates again. Then all of a sudden, the major seismic waves start happening again. P waves, primary waves. Okay? You see it here on this seismogram. I showed it to you on the other one as well. Then after that, we have secondary waves. And those secondary waves continued for almost 40 minutes. Almost 40 minutes. Then after that, the waves continue there. I'm talking 40 minutes right after that quake happened. The secondary waves continued. Okay, the secondary waves continued for hours, as you can see below this main earthquake. You see the secondary wave continuing for hours, and it's still continuing. The secondary wave is still continuing. Let me show you another helioplot here. Okay, you don't have to just believe one or two. I've got 4 of them here. Okay, let me take you over to Texas. This is Hockley, Texas. Here, we're seeing a little bit different story at Hockley. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major shock waves here. This is quite a distance from Ecuador. Thousands of miles from Ecuador. We still see at least 5 major shock waves, P waves. Then we see the secondary waves happening. On this particular seismogram, or helioplot I should say, we see some foreshocks here, don't we? There were definitely foreshocks here. There's plenty of aftershocks. Plenty of secondary waves happening here. Let me show you another one. This one I'm going to show you now comes from Disney World Wilderness Preserve in Florida. Okay, look what I'm showing you here. Okay, now I'm only going to count the ones that went off the paper. The primary waves that went off the paper here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't see 10, but we see 8 of them. Okay? This was definitely not a 6.7. It was definitely not a 6.8 that they arrived at. You can see the secondary waves continuing here. Okay? Right now on this particular seismogram, this helioplot, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Yes, I pulled this helioplot 5 hours ago. Well, guess what? They're continuing now. They're continuing now. And this earthquake hit nearly 10 hours ago. There's no way in heck that you can have a major earthquake of this caliber, this strong, this strength, that's only going 9 hours. The earthquake moving, the ground moving 9 hours. This was a major earthquake, a 7.4 major earthquake off the coast, just barely off the coast of Ecuador. We saw this same kind of earthquake hit just off coast of Northern California. And what did we see? We saw Ferndale, we saw Petrolia, California, we saw Rio Del, and a couple other major or small towns over there off the Northern California coast that got beat up. Major damage at those small towns. And it's still shaking today. There was another 2.4 today, a minor earthquake over at Rio Del today. That was a lot larger shake than this one. That one was either an 8.5 to a 9.0 down there in Northern California. We reported on it. I showed you helioplots like this after that thing happened. Okay? It's a big deal. 4 people so far have been killed in Ecuador. There's been major damage over there along the coast of Ecuador. And it's probably also going to happen up in the hills and valleys in the Andes Mountains. It's going to happen. Okay? We've just barely seen the damage there. There are videos that I'm not going to show you tonight. We can see that either tomorrow night or on Monday. There's plenty of time to see damage. And some of it is not fit to be aired, honestly. Okay? These kind of earthquakes are very damning. Excuse my French. Okay? They don't take any prisoners. They kill people. They destroy property. Okay? I just don't want to show them to you tonight. I don't think it's necessary. And anybody that does, I believe they ought to not do it. The news media is as guilty as anybody. I don't think they should be doing it, period. Now, what happened here in South America? And this is not even a good representation of all the earthquakes in South America. This one here, this is a foreshock of that 7.2, 7.4 major earthquake up in Ecuador. This is further south. This is north central Chile, Argentina area. This is in the border region of Argentina and Chile, in the Andes Mountains. You can see it. Okay? This was a large 5.0 magnitude earthquake. Okay? But there are a lot of other earthquakes here as well. USGS is showing 2 other earthquakes up here further to the north. This one is a 4.6 moderate earthquake in Calama, Chile. This happened at 4:30 p.m. today. That major earthquake happened around noon. Okay? Let's go further north here. This earthquake here was on the border, or in the border region of Chile and Bolivia. Okay? Again, it's in the Andes Mountains. You can see that. Okay? This is a moderate 4.7 magnitude quake. This is north of Colcami, Bolivia. This is 242 kilometers deep. This is a semi-deep earthquake. Someone else on YouTube was talking about this earthquake in Ecuador and said it was a deep quake. Wrong. Wrong. They don't know what a deep earthquake is. This is a semi-shallow earthquake. A semi-shallow earthquake. It's 65 kilometers deep. Just barely about 40 miles deep. Okay? Just barely 40 miles deep. This is not a deep earthquake at all. On this show over the last 4 years, I have shown you earthquakes that are very deep. 656 kilometers deep. Those are very, very deep earthquakes way down in the asthenosphere where the plastic magma is. This might be just below the crust of the earth. The crust of the earth is what we walk on. Okay? The crust of the earth is between 39 to 69 miles deep, depending on where you're at. This may just barely be at the bottom crust of the earth, where the plastic magma might be. Okay? I'm just saying, this is not a deep earthquake. This is a shallow earthquake. Deep earthquakes propagate larger, shallower quakes. And yes, we have had here in South America moderate and small deep earthquakes here that resulted in this major earthquake in Ecuador. We knew it was going to happen. It was a matter of time. Okay? But again, this agency is not showing any other earthquakes in Colombia, down in Peru. Well, they're showing this one in Peru. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake. This again is 56 kilometers deep. This is north of Puerto Ocopa, Peru. Okay? But there are a lot of other earthquakes here too. There's about 20, well now because of that 7.2, 7.4 earthquake, there's about 400 earthquakes now here in South America. Okay? But again, this agency will never tell you the truth. Never happen. Never happen. Let's go down here in the South Pacific real quick. Okay? This is in the Kermadec Island region. This again is a 5.0 large quake. We saw a major earthquake here the other day, a 7.0, that they downgraded. Okay? This is 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. The Kermadec Island region, guys, is not inhabited. My friend Mary Greeley showed an island there, one of the islands in the Kermadec Islands. Somebody had a picture and she grabbed the picture to show on her program and said the only way you can get on that island is when there are calm seas. There's a reason that these islands are not inhabited. It's a bird sanctuary area. Every one of these islands down here in the Kermadec Islands are a bird sanctuary. Let me make that point perfectly clear. It's a bird sanctuary area. Okay? Nobody got hurt by that major earthquake here in the Carrick Islands. Okay? Maybe some trees fell down. Maybe some birds were injured or killed. But no humans were involved. Okay? Down here in New Zealand. Over here on the North Island of New Zealand. Okay? Okay, we've talked about this before. This is Topo Lake. I'm showing you Topo Lake here. Topo Lake is a supervolcano down here on the North Island of New Zealand. A supervolcano. This supervolcano is being rocked by microquakes and minor and small earthquakes. It's still on an eruption advisory, a yellow eruption advisory list right now. It's been that way for quite some time. It's probably going to be that way for a while or until that volcano erupts. Then look out. Look out. Because again, that water of that lake is sitting in the caldera of the volcano. Hot, steaming magma doesn't like cold water. So you can only imagine what would happen. But this week, we've had one large earthquake here. And we've had at least 24 foreshocks. 24 foreshocks here. 2.7, 3.0, 3.4, 3.7. 24 earthquakes prior to that 5 happening. And since that 5 has happened, there's at least a dozen or 24 earthquakes that have hit since. Aftershocks of that 5.0 here in New Zealand. Okay? But heaven forbid that this agency tells the truth and tells what's going on. Why am I even mentioning it? Because there's a supervolcano, guys. There is a supervolcano and it could erupt. That's why I'm even talking about it. Now, let's go over here into Fiji region. This is a moderate 4.6 magnitude earthquake. It's in an ocean here, the Pacific Ocean, nowhere near any islands at all. However, this is a semi-deep earthquake, 482 kilometers deep. This means, guys, this 4.6 is a semi-deep quake. This means that this earthquake is going to propagate at least, and I'm going to say at least, a 5.2 to a 5.5 magnitude earthquake as a result of this earthquake. And the seismic energy could go north, it could stay here in the Fiji region, it could go further north up here into Tonga, it could go over here to the Loyalty Islands over here. It could go up here into Vanuatu here, or over into the Solomon Islands to the east or to the west. It could go over into Papua New Guinea as well. Well, over here. All I am saying is deep quakes propagate larger earthquakes. This was a 4.6 today. And just to the north of it was another 4.8 near Levuka, Fiji, 279 kilometers east of Levuka, Fiji. Again, this was out in the ocean. This is a lot deeper earthquake. A lot deeper earthquake. Okay? Remember, that Ecuadorian earthquake was shallow. This one is 553 kilometers deep. Okay? The agency has it as 552.9, 553 kilometers deep. This is a very deep earthquake. This 4.8 moderate quake is going to propagate at least, and I'm going to say at least, a 5.8 magnitude earthquake. 5.6 to 5.8 magnitude earthquake as a result of this 4.8 today. Okay, so now we're going to have at least 2 upper magnitude 5 earthquakes here within the next 3 to 10 days. Within the next 3 to 10 days. Now that seismic energy could go north up into Tonga. It could go to Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands. It could go over to Papua New Guinea, or it could go down into New Zealand. But there's something else it could do. It could also go east. It could go east over here into South America. It could go over here to Easter Islands before it reaches South America. Okay? But if it comes east here, which it might do, it does happen, it does go that way. Go over here to Chile and cause upper magnitude 5s to 6s here in Chile. Argentina, Bolivia area. Probably not go up to Bolivia, but it will go to Chile and Argentina. Okay, so we're going to see larger earthquakes here in South America. Let's go west here, just so you know. Over here, this was a 4.8 moderate quake here in Papua New Guinea. This was 10.6 kilometers deep. Woohoo! Or 10.0 kilometers deep. 6 miles deep. Okay? It's a moderate earthquake. Didn't happen anywhere near land. Okay, when it doesn't happen anywhere near land, the ocean waters absorb the seismic energy. Okay? Let's go further west here. Okay? This is a 4.9, 5.0 earthquake. Why do I say that? Why do I say 4.9, 5.0? Because this agency and some of the others have history of downgrading earthquakes. And I've explained this on this channel before, and I'm not going to explain it tonight. I can do it another night. They have a history of downgrading earthquakes, so anybody 10, 20, 30 years from now will say, oh, that's just a moderate earthquake. No, it wasn't. It was a larger earthquake. And they do it for a reason, to make sure nobody realizes what happened. But this was in Tobelo, or near, not in, but near Tobelo, Indonesia. Tobelo, Indonesia over here. This is over in the South Pacific. Look where it's at. Okay? Look where it's at. Look what else happened. That's why I'm zooming in. That was a 4.9, 5.0. This is also a 4.9, 5.0. This is also 4.7. Okay? 10 kilometers deep. Large earthquake here. Large earthquake. 2 5.0s here, guys. 2 large earthquakes off the coast of Tobelo, Indonesia today. Okay? That's big. Twin large earthquakes. Okay? Now, that seismic energy is going to flow north. You see that red line here going north from there? That is the edge of the plate. There are 7 different plates down here between Indonesia, Indo-Australia, south of there. There's Australia, the Indo-Australia plate, and other plates here. There are 7 plates interacting with each other. 7 different plates subducting under each other here. One of the biggest subduction regions in the world. Okay? That's why we're having earthquakes. And we just got through having another earthquake here. This is another 4.9, 5.0. It just happened. It just barely happened over here in Papua New Guinea, 165 kilometers south-southwest of Urengo, Papua New Guinea. Okay? Urengo, Papua New Guinea. It's out here in the ocean. Okay, again, the seismic energy was absorbed by the water here. Nobody on land is going to feel this earthquake. Okay? That earthquake just happened. Now, there are a lot more earthquakes over here in Indonesia, but we'll never see them here on this earthquake map, because this agency is corrupted. We go just southeast of Japan here. This is in the Izu Islands, southeast of Japan. It's another 4.8 earthquake, moderate earthquake. Ocean waters absorbed the shock of this quake as well. Nobody felt it. But a moderate earthquake could spawn a larger quake. This won't, because it's only 10 kilometers deep, 6 miles. We go north of Japan, north of Hokkaido, over here to the Kuril Islands, south of Kamchatka. This is a moderate 4.4 earthquake. This is only 61 kilometers deep. Not a big deal. Okay? Kuril Islands always, I can't say always, but they seem to always get hit over here. USGS rarely even talks about it. The few times they talk about it, it's surprising to me. Okay? But we also have a major volcano over here. A major volcano here. This is Ebuko volcano here. Okay? Ebuko volcano right here. Okay? Ebuko volcano. It's erupting off and on all the time. It's erupting off and on. Usually erupts up to about 10,000 feet. Okay? Again, why do you think we have earthquakes here? This is called the Ring of Fire for a reason. There's volcanoes all over this area. How do you think these islands come into existence? Volcanoes, guys. Volcanoes. Okay? Now, we go over into the Aleutian Islands. This seismic energy you see here in the Kuril Islands, it's going to go north. It's going to hit again just east of Kamchatka Peninsula here in Russia. Then it's going to go over here to the east into the Aleutian Island chain. We continue to get hit here. This is Attu Station. There's been at least a dozen earthquakes here at Attu Station in the past week. This is a moderate 4.2 here. Again, 6 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Over here, okay, this is a volcanic area. This is a volcanic area. Yes, we have a large earthquake northwest of there. This is a 2.7. It happens to be 173 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow quake. It's not that deep. We go over here to the volcano. Guess what? This volcano here is still on a watch list because it may erupt. Why could it erupt? Look what we see here. These are shallow tremors and earthquakes here. The quake I just highlighted was a 0.9 minor microquake. Okay? Right here south of there, that's a 2.5 minor earthquake. Northwest east of there is a 1.0 tremor. Just northeast of there is a 1.3 tremor. See what I'm saying? This volcano is getting ready to erupt again. That's why we have all these tremors here. Usually when you see a tremor, there's either going to be an eruption of a volcano if it's near a volcano, or there's going to be a larger earthquake. That is what happens. We know that for a fact. We further go here through the Aleutian Islands here, and we have a 2.4 minor earthquake here. It's in the Aleutian Islands. It's nowhere near land. Nobody would feel a 2.4 earthquake, but they still have to talk about it. There's a lot more earthquakes than that either. Okay? We go further into Alaska here. Okay? We go over into the peninsula of Alaska here. I just highlighted an earthquake here. This is near Port Hayden. And actually it's nowhere near Port Heiden. They say it's 35 kilometers east of Port Heiden. Oh, really? Really? East? Right. Uh-huh. It's a lot more than that. And it's actually west of Port Heiden. Okay? This is a 2.9 magnitude earthquake here. A minor earthquake over here on the Aleutian Island Peninsula. Not the Aleutian Island, but Alaska Peninsula. We go up here. Again, this is Old Ili Lama volcano. We've had a slew of minor tremors and earthquakes hitting here. And Old Ili Lama volcano has been steaming. This may have been gearing up to eruption, but now, guess what? The number of earthquakes and tremors has settled down. This is a 1.0 tremor. Right next to it is 0.3 microquake. Right next to a volcano. But again, the tremors and earthquakes have calmed down. We go further north. Up here is near Aveyah, Alaska. It's a 2.4 earthquake. We further go up here into the Cook Strait here, or not Cook Strait, the Cook Inlet here. Cook Strait's down in New Zealand. This Cook Inlet here is a 2.3. This is near Pedro Bay. Pedro Bay. Wonder what's going on here. This is a 2.0 anchor point out here in the middle of the Cook Inlet here. We further go north, a 2.0 out here in the water. We continue to go north, 1.9. Really? A 1.9. Oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on. We go over here. This is another. And they just... Okay. I have to continue this because I have to show you some more quakes here. And USGS just seized this map, and so I'm taking it down and I'm going to put it right back up. Yay, it's back up. I want to go back into Alaska. That's why I want to be here. Okay, look what's going on over here in south central Alaska. It's not as heavy as it was. We used to have 30 earthquakes and tremors here just around Anchorage and north of there. Okay? Over here, okay, guess what this is? Okay? This happens to be the edge of the plate. It's also Denali National Park. USGS has this earthquake as being a 1.6 tremor, and they say it's 62 kilometers north of Petersville, Alaska. I call bull S, okay? BS. This is in Denali National Park. It's also right next to Mount McKinley. A 1.6 tremor next to Mount McKinley. Okay? We just had another minor microquake right here, or actually this is a tremor. This just happened, a 1.7 tremor here. This is only 26 kilometers deep. Okay? Up here, it's still the edge of the plate here. That's why these earthquakes happen here. This is the edge of the plate. But the earthquakes that I want to talk about tonight, they're further north. Up here, folks, this is at the Arctic Circle. This is on the Arctic Circle. This happens to be near one of the areas that I'm watching. Okay? They call this Arctic Village. It's 97 kilometers north-northeast of Arctic Village. It's just south. It's just south of the North Shore of Alaska. Where? What is going on? Oil and gas drilling all over this place. Okay? Oil and gas drilling all over. What else has happened here? What else has happened here? 3 days prior to Ridgecrest, We had a 5.0 magnitude earthquake here, just north of here, Kennebec, Alaska, a 5.0 earthquake. That's one of the reasons I am monitoring this, okay? I don't know if there's a connection to Ridgecrest, but we had a 5.0 earthquake here 3 days before Ridgecrest. Then what else happened? What do you think happened, guys? I've talked about this before. A day before Ridgecrest hit, we had a 6.8 magnitude earthquake just south of Queen Charlotte Island here in British Columbia. A 6.8 earthquake hit. Nobody felt it. It was south of Queen Charlotte Island. Queen Charlotte Island didn't feel it, but it was out here in the ocean. The ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of that quake. What happened a day later? What do you think I'm talking about? What do you think happened a day later? Okay? We had two 6.9 earthquakes side by side almost spontaneously. Simultaneously. There were only seconds between the two. Two separate locations over here in Ridgecrest. Two 6.9 earthquakes here in Ridgecrest. USGS made one totally disappear. Two separate places. I still have the pictures. I still have the evidence. Two separate 6.9 earthquakes. They took one down and downgraded the other to a 6.4. Well, yeah, that's what they do. The next day, July 4th, 2019, what happened? There was a 7.1 earthquake in Ridgecrest. The epicenter was in Trona, California. 3 major earthquakes in this area. This was before I started looking seriously at what they were doing, downgrading quakes before they even let us know what was going on. Those 6.9s may have been larger than that. The 7.1 may have been larger than that. It caused substantial damage in Ridgecrest and even more damage up in Trona. It tore up highways. There was a huge fissure that opened up here as well. 3 major earthquakes here. Today, what do we have? This is just south of Ridgecrest. This is Bonefish, California. We have a 1.0 tremor here. Bonefish is a volcanic area. Just northeast of there, we have a 0.8 microquake. Okay? We go further north here. This is Ridgecrest here. This is a 1.0 tremor here in Ridgecrest. North of there, we have a 1.1 in Searles Valley. Okay? We're still getting hit here. Major earthquakes still happen. And when they happen, it results in aftershocks. All the earthquakes here in Ridgecrest right now are aftershocks of 3 major earthquakes here back in 2019, 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Okay? So, I've told you about the major quake that hit today. Okay? Over here, in the southern Cascadia subduction area, this is Rio Dell that I told you about, had a 2.2 earthquake. Just a minor earthquake here in Rio Dell. An aftershock of a major earthquake that happened here just a while ago. Just months ago. Okay? Up here to the north, up in the Rocky Mountains. This is Smith Ferry, Idaho. A 2.6 minor earthquake up here. A 2.6 minor earthquake up there. Just for kicks and giggles, let's look at Southern California. Look at these earthquakes in Southern California. Woohoo! Woohoo! What do we have here? This is Fullerton, east of Los Angeles. Fullerton. Guess where this is? Remember the seismogram that we pull up all the time? Cal Electric here in Fullerton. This happens to be a 1.5 tremor here in Fullerton. And I will bet you that there may be larger tremors or even earthquakes here in Fullerton. Remember, they don't post everything. They never do. Further south and east of Los Angeles, this is Trabuco Canyon. Trabuco Canyon, they say, is in LA, but this is just east of LA. This is a 1.0 tremor. But where is it? Where is it? This is the Elsinore Fault area. The Elsinore Fault. We have another red earthquake, means it just happened. This is in Beaumont, California. It's a 0.9 microquake. 0.9 microquake. We go further south, we have another red earthquake here. This is in the Anza Gap area. This is North San Diego County. Northeast San Diego County. The Anza Gap. Okay? It looks like we're still having small swarms of earthquakes, doesn't it? And you're right, we are. We're going to have a large earthquake here. It's a matter of time. This is also 0.7 that I just highlighted, just a microquake. This is a 0.8. Guess where this is? It's on the Elsinore Fault. It's at Palomar Mountain. This is where the telescope is. 5 kilometers southwest of Palomar Mountain. Okay? On the Elsinore Fault. We go further south and we have another on the Elsinore Fault here. This is a 1.1 in Ocotillo, California. Ocotillo, California. Let's go further north and east up here. I want to show you this. We talked about the Anza Gap. This one is a 1.0 tremor in Borrego Springs. What some of you might not know is that this area of San Diego County is called the Anza Borrego State Park. The Anza Borrego State Park. It's in northeast San Diego County. This is a 1.0 over there today. You notice this earthquake over here in the middle of the Salton Sea? That's one reason why I came over here. Look what we have here. Look what we have. We have a cache, a group of quakes here. This one happens to be a 1.6 in the middle of the Salton Sea. Right next to it is a 3.6 magnitude small quake. A 3.6 magnitude small quake. Right next to it is a 3.4 small quake here. 7.3 kilometers deep. This 3.6 is 8 kilometers deep. And this minor tremor is 5.5 kilometers deep. Now they're saying that these quakes here are 13 kilometers south-southwest of Bombay Beach. Bombay Beach. These should be closer to Salton City. They're just east of Salton City here, or actually southeast of Salton City here in the Salton Sea. They're closer to Salton City than they are Bombay Beach. Bombay Beach is right over here. That's Bombay Beach. That's Bombay Beach. And we've shown you the seismograms here at Bombay Beach. We get 3s, 3.5s, even 4.0s here at Bombay Beach. Okay? That happens. It happens a lot. Okay? You don't see any other quakes or tremors here in the Imperial Valley. That's because they don't want to show them. Every day here in the Imperial Valley, there's about 100 to 150 earthquakes here. guaranteed every day. We keep showing you, every week we show you the seismogram from Calipatria. That seismogram of Calipatria has over 100 earthquakes there every day. Sometimes closer, like I said, to 150. But again, heaven forbid we see it on the map of the USGS. Not going to show us. Not going to show us. Further down into northern Mexico, this is Montevideo, Mexico, Baja California. This is a 2.4 minor earthquake here, 14 kilometers deep. Okay? But down here at the entrance to the Gulf of California here, we have some earthquakes here we probably ought to talk about. This is a 4.5 here. 4.5 south of Cancun, here in the mouth of the Gulf of California. 4.5 moderate earthquake. 10 kilometers deep, 6.0 miles deep. This one is also the same depth. This is a 4.4. They're saying this is 149 kilometers southeast of La Playa, Mexico. It's south of Cancun, guys. Okay? This, they're saying, is a 4.2 also. 10 kilometers deep. Okay? They're lying about the location. They can't get that right. They never will. Just real quickly, let's go over here to Hawaii. We need to talk about this, okay? You see all these earthquakes down here? This is, ouch. This is Pahala, Hawaii, okay? This area is the distribution center for magma to the other volcanoes on the Big Island. This is where the lava plume way down in the South Pacific is feeding magma here, okay? And here there are magma channels leading from Pahala to the other volcanoes. Right here, this red earthquake just happened. It's a 2.1 earthquake here. A 2.1 earthquake. Okay, let's go further north here. What do you think happens here? Anybody have any ideas what happens here? Okay, right here. Okay, this is also north of Pahala. They say it's northeast of Pahala. It's actually northwest of Pahala. It's a 1.8 tremor. Okay, but there's a magma channel here. What do you think the magma channel feeds? Right here. There's another 1.8 tremor. Where do you think the magma channel feeds? This is Kilauea. Kilauea volcano. Okay? Over here is Pu'u'o'o. Pu'u'o'o volcano. Back in 2018, both Kilauea and Pu'u'o'o had lava lakes in them. Then all of a sudden, those lava lakes disappeared. The magma receded down inside the volcanic chamber here on Hawaii. And for days they wondered what happened. Then all of a sudden, down here in the fern forest that I'm showing you right here, this is the fern forest. All of this area is lava here. Lava. Okay? Fern forest, there were several fissures here. And they drained over here to the ocean. That's why all you see is lava here. Okay? That's what happened. Further north and east here. This is Leilani Estates. Leilani Estates. We had a total of 24 fissures that opened up after Kilauea and Pu'u'o'o drained out. Look here. I just zoomed in. These are actual lava plumes. Lava plumes. SO2 and carbon dioxide plumes from the lava here. A lot of this lava is still hot to the touch. You also ought to know that there's also active volcanoes here. After these fissures stopped erupting so much lava out of them, several of those fissures started making craters and volcanic cones. And the Hawaiians have named some of those former fissures that developed cones and craters. Those are now certified volcanoes, named volcanoes here. Okay? That's what actually happened out here in Leilani Estates. That's why you see so many lava plumes here. Okay, those aren't just clouds, those are lava plumes. Okay? Some of them are still there. We also had a minor earthquake here. Actually, it's a tremor here, a 1.8 tremor off of the island of Hawaii here. Okay? Lava plume, or magma channel up here. Oh yeah, I believe that's a magma channel here. Okay? But what happened over here? Okay? This is north of This is north of Mauna Loa. Okay? This is actually closer to another volcano. Another volcano. Mauna Kea is here. Mauna Kea. This is a 2.4 minor earthquake near Mauna Kea. USGS has it southeast of Waimea, Hawaii. They never will tell us the truth. If I showed you the seismogram for Mauna Kea, you would swear Mauna Kea was going to erupt. There's that much activity at that volcano. Mauna Loa, for your knowledge, so you know, Mauna Loa is calmed way down. There is magma infill coming into this volcano now, but it's nowhere near ready to erupt again. There was a good-sized eruption there. Nothing major, but a good-sized eruption there. It spilled lava out onto the sides of the volcano. But it stopped. And it's resurging again, recharging. But up here at Mauna Kea, we have another 2.4 earthquake. Mauna Kea may erupt as well. Okay? But they'll never tell us exactly what's going on. They just won't. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you when it comes to earthquakes. But it's not over. My program tonight is going further into what you see going on, what we've talked about. What we've talked about this week. What we've talked about since February 3rd. Okay? There's a lot more knowledge that I want to impart to you tonight. Okay? I'm going to show you a picture here. And I hope that it doesn't scare anybody. This is East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine, Ohio. Why am I showing you this tonight? Folks, there's a lot of discussion going on right now. The city here had that huge train derailment on February 3rd. There was a fire. One of the cars was on fire. One of the wheels caught on fire. It seized, heated up, got white hot, white red, and all of a sudden caused a fire on that car. But 35 other rail cars derailed. Many of those were tanker cars. We talked about it. Vinyl acrylic. Vinyl acrylic spilled onto the ground. They decided that they needed to empty those rail cars. So the powers that be, for whatever reason, and there is no legal reason for them to do that, the right way is to empty those cars into other cars and get them out of there. That's not what they did. They dug a huge, deep, 2-mile-long trench, and they blew out the bottom of those tanker cars and drained that poisonous vinyl acrylic into those trenches. Then they set it on fire. spreading pollution, spreading dioxins, spreading benzene, spreading phosphate gas. When did you last hear about that? On this channel. But what did they use that gas for in World War II? To kill people. They lit that empty or that full trench of poisonous chemicals on fire, and they spread those chemicals into the atmosphere. Draining those chemicals into the ground poisoned the ground, poisoned the soil anywhere near it. The fire spread those chemicals through the air onto the soil and the water, the creeks and streams, the rivers, and even from the ground, leaking the chemical into the water table, into the wells. The wells over at East Palestine have been contaminated. The ground has been contaminated and still is. The water, the creeks and streams are still contaminated, and they'll be contaminated for at least 100 to 1,000 years. Why am I talking to you again about this tonight? There's a reason. The United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, said the soil in East Palestine, this came out within a week after the derailment and after the fire. The EPA said the soil in East Palestine does not contain dangerous levels of cancer-causing chemicals. They lied. They lied. The EPA secretary visited there and lied. Okay? However, and this is new information that I'm giving you tonight, a past scientific recommendation from the EPA contradicts that assertion that the soil, the groundwater, and the water above the ground is still contaminated. The scientific recommendation from the EPA in the past contradicts the assertion now that nothing is wrong. Earlier this month, Environmental Protection Agency Regional Administrator Deborah Shore said there were very low levels of dioxins during a hearing of the U.S. Senate Committee on Environmental and Public Works. She said there was a low level of dioxins. Remember dioxins? What do we say about that? They could alter hormones, they could alter people, their DNA, and they cause cancer. They're deadly. Dioxins, benzene, phosphate gas, acrylic chloride. Okay? Unreal. She said there were very low levels of dioxins during that hearing. She lied. Okay? I'm going to give you the information now. She said, we detected very low levels which very quickly went down to non-detectable. Really? Went down to non-detectable. Without those primary indicators, it was a very low possibility that dioxins would have been created, she said. She lied. The dioxins were created by burning those chemicals off. And the dioxins seeped into the soil and to the water table and into the rivers and streams from the air when they burned it off. So Shore lied to Congress. She said they are secondary byproducts of the burning of vinyl chloride. Really? We were listening to the community, and they expressed significant concerns about toxins. That's what she said. The EPA waited a month before ordering dioxin testing. They waited a month before ordering dioxin testing. When did Shore give that speech to Congress? A couple weeks, 3 weeks ago. Long before they ordered the dioxin testing. Okay? They waited a month before ordering dioxin testing near the toxic Norfolk Southern train derailment site in East Palestine, Ohio. Now, the company called Pace Analytical, remember that name, Pace Analytical. Pace Analytical is an independent lab based in Indiana. They released a report on whether there were dangerous concentration of chemicals in soil samples from East Palestine. Regulators established the toxicity of dioxins in a soil sample by calculating the toxicity equivalence of all dioxins in the soil compared with the most toxic dioxin compound, called 2,3,7,8 TCDD. 2378 TCDD. East Palestine soil showed levels of 2378 DCDD toxicity equivalents of 700 parts per million, 700 parts per trillion PPT per trillion in the soil, well beyond the toxicity levels that the EPA considers to be safe. Parts per trillion, PPT, is a measurement of the quality or quantity of a substance in the air, water, or the soil. A concentration of 1 part per trillion means there is 1 part of that substance for every trillion parts of either air, water, or soil in which it is contaminated. Since 1998, the EPA determined that the dioxin soil concentration of less than 1,000 parts per trillion were safe for residential areas and between 5,000 parts per trillion to 20,000 parts per trillion in commercial and industrial soil. Anything above those levels would trigger a cleanup. Okay? Would trigger a cleanup. However, in 2010, the EPA proposed drastic reductions in what concentration of dioxin that the agency determined to be safe based on the best available peer-reviewed science. The concentration of dioxins in the East Palestine soil samples is as much as hundreds of times greater than the threshold from the EPA's safety recommendation from 2010. Hundreds of times higher. What does that tell you? East Palestine soil, water, and air is still contaminated and is still more dangerous even when before the accident happened. The EPA declared in 2010, based on a consideration of oral and exposure to the skin. They call it dermal exposure. Based on consideration of oral and dermal exposure to dioxin, the EPA has developed the following draft recommended interim PRGs, exposure levels for dioxin in soil. 72 parts per trillion for residential soil. Really? 72 parts per trillion for residential soil and 950 parts per trillion for commercial and industrial soil. East Palestine is hundreds of times more toxic than that. The EPA also considered lowering the threshold far more to protect Americans against cancer and other health issues. What we're talking about is East Palestine is heavily toxic. East Palestine is dangerous for people to be there. EPA is concerning and requesting comment on this, and all alternative concentrations of 3.7 parts per trillion in the soil and 17 parts per trillion in commercial and industrial soil as a draft interim preliminary remediation goals. In other words, if it's higher than 3.7 parts per trillion in residential soil, then they're going to have to go in and close it down and get people out of there. If it's 17 parts or higher than 17 parts per trillion in a commercial and industrial area, they're going to have to do the same thing, to evacuate the area and keep it cleared, and it will be declared a cleanup area by the government. Okay? This is what the EPA draft recommendations are. Okay? It's called a PRG, Preliminary Remediation Goals for Dioxin in the Soil. The EPA proclaimed that 3.7 parts per trillion concentration would be protective for cancer and non-cancer events. Okay? This is far deadlier. Matthew Stanislaus, who is an EPA Assistant Administrator for Solid Waste and Emergency Response, said in 2010, quote, "We're driven by the need to protect against excessive risk of both cancer and non-cancer health concerns. We believe that the current standards are not sufficiently protective and more stringent numbers are needed." The current standards are not sufficiently protected and stringent numbers are needed. Now get this. Okay, this goes way back. During the Obama administration, Obama killed the proposed decrease in the dioxin threshold at the time. Really? Okay. They killed the proposed decrease in the dioxin threshold at the time. In other words, they didn't care whether people got sick or died. Dioxin concentrations that require cleanups are much lower in several states, including 90 parts per trillion in Michigan and 50 parts per trillion in California. Linda Birnbaum, who is a leading dioxin researcher, a toxicologist, and former director of the National Institute for Environmental Health Science, said that the burning of vinyl chloride from the train derailment could have created dioxins. Of course it did. Birnbaum added, "The levels are not screaming high, but we have confirmed that the dioxins are in East Palestine soil. The EPA must test the soil in the area more broadly." Karsten Prozzi, an organic chemist at Johns Hopkins University, said, quote, "I certainly wouldn't be comfortable living there," unquote. Okay? An organic chemist said he wouldn't be comfortable living there. The EPA website notes that dioxins are persistent organic pollutants that take a long time to break down once they're in the environment. The EPA warns that dioxins are highly toxic and can cause cancer, reproductive harm, and developmental problems, damage to the immune system, and they can interfere with hormones. Now, that really, really bad organization that I have mentioned here on this channel before, this organization right here. This organization right here. Okay? They stated that long-term exposure is linked to the impairment of the immune system and the developing nervous system, the endocrine system, and reproductive functions. Please don't put these letters or word in the chat. Don't do it. Okay? This organization said that the dioxins, long-term exposure, can impair the immune system, the developing nervous system, the endocrine system, and the reproductive functions. A paper published in Environmental Sciences Europe, a peer-reviewed scientific journal covering environmental science, warns of the dangers of endocrine disrupting toxins. Really? Okay? That gets even deeper. I told you that there was a lot of information that I wanted to give you tonight. Okay? East Palestine is deadly. It's dangerous. This place needs to be evacuated. These people are not even wearing anything over their faces. They're inhaling fumes and air that is contaminated. You see these shovels here? These shovels are moving dirt, aren't they? They're spreading the toxins. And if wind picks up any of the dirt, they are breathing these toxins. Not just the construction people, not just the people that are trying to clean it up, but every person that lives here. Every person that drives through here is spreading the toxins. Okay? Now, you can make whatever assumptions you want, but I wanted to make sure that you have the complete information about what happened. Yes, Times and Science says the toxins did spread. They spread east, they spread west, they spread north. They spread west by people traveling through that area, spreading the toxins. They spread north and east through the air that was blowing. The storms, the water that was in the ground, and the rain has also spread the toxins east and north, and even south, down the Mississippi River. Down the Mississippi River. I will bet you that if there were people that wanted to test the water in the Mississippi River, they would find traces of dioxins and other chemicals related to what happened on February 3rd in East Palestine. Okay? It's in the air, the ground, and the water, all over. Kimberly Hopkins said she'd be wearing full PPE. I would be too. And so should those workers that you saw in that picture. None of them are. That's what's bad about this whole thing. Okay? I wanted to make sure that you had this information. I thought it necessary. Okay? I want to be able to help people. People that may see this program in East Palestine. I urge you to take personal action to protect yourselves and your families. Anybody working in this area, you need to do the same. If you're working in this area, you need to be wearing full PPE to help yourself and your families. If you're working in that area, you need to have someone wash you down. You need to go through a decontamination process before you leave that area. Otherwise, you are just spreading those toxins. If you're taking out that reflective vest and putting it in your car and truck, you're spreading the toxins. If you're walking in with your shoes and boots into your home, you're spreading the toxins. Guaranteed. Okay? It's dangerous, guys. It's very dangerous, and it still is. Hurricane Heather said she can't believe that area is not fully evacuated. I can too. It's a death trap, just like Love Canal was back in the late 50s. Just as dangerous. And there's still people living near there. And they have health issues as well. A lot of the Love Canal area was evacuated. That town in Mississippi, or not Mississippi, in Missouri has been evacuated. But the government came in and claimed, oh, we've cleaned it up. They've turned it into a park. I would not want to be anywhere near that to have a picnic. No way, no how. Okay? 100 to 1,000 years. Okay? 100 to 1,000 years, maybe. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a good night. I hope you've enjoyed what we've told you. Okay? Please share this program far and wide. We've given you a lot of information tonight. Okay, we have 74 people watching, 77 people have given us thumbs up. I appreciate that. Before you leave tonight, if you enjoyed what we told you and you think it's valuable, please give us a thumbs up. Share this program with everybody you come in contact with. Everybody needs to see this. Okay? Mr. T may be affected. All of us are going to be affected by what happens there. We've already been affected by the banking situation. It's only getting worse. Okay? A lot of things are going to happen, and every one of us are going to be affected by it. It's called recession and depression. Okay? That's why I came on tonight. Guys, be safe and be happy. Get some rest tonight. Now it's almost midnight here on the East Coast. That's why I didn't want to come on so late. But I felt it was absolutely necessary that I make this broadcast. Hope you have a good night and a better tomorrow. We will be back on the air at 12 noon tomorrow. And now it's almost tomorrow now. But we'll be back on at noon Sunday tomorrow with Come Follow Me, the Savior Said, which is our Sunday school class that we hold every Sunday. God bless you all. May God be with you this day and always. God bless you. God help you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a great night, folks. Be safe. Be happy. God bless.